and welcome to the virtual community meeting on updates for the South Main Street Corridor project from the City of Santa Ana Public Works and Community Development Agencies. We appreciate you making time in your busy schedule to attend the meeting tonight. My name is Michelle McAuliffe with the City of Santa Ana Public Works. Before we start the presentation, Alyssa from our Neighborhood Initiative team will review the ways you can participate and ask questions during the meeting. Alyssa?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting. There are a couple of ways to participate. As you can see on the screen, you can either raise your hand, which is the little hand feature that you can see on the bottom of your screen. You can also ask a question and you can type it in the Q&A box. So there is a Q&A box where you could type in your question. We'll be looking at those throughout the night, so make sure you type those in. For those of you that are just dialing in, you can dial *9 if you need to raise your hand, if you have any questions, or if you want to make a comment, and dial *6 to unmute yourself. So once we call on you, dial *6 to unmute yourself. We also have Spanish interpretation available. And in order to access that, you click on the globe. And once you click on the globe, you choose the Spanish language and you will be able to listen to this presentation in Spanish. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. This is Michelle McAuliffe again with the Public Works Agency. We want you to know that your questions and your observations on the project are very important to us. This meeting is all about you, the community, and providing you information on the project. We welcome your questions and comments tonight, so please share with everyone. We have a number of city staff participating in the meeting tonight that I'll introduce to you now. City staff, please wave when I call your name. From our Neighborhood Initiative team, Alyssa Ventura and Margarita Macedonio. From our Community Development Agency, Julie Castro Cardenas and Tram Lee. From the Public Works Agency, our City Inspector for the project, Gerardo Lechuga. He has a personal interest in making sure the community is taken care of during the construction of the project. He's a Santa Ana resident. Our engineering team, Rudy Rosas. Sean Thomas, our project manager. Jason Gabriel. Our city engineer, William Galvez.
I'm here.
Yay. And our executive director, Nabil Saba.
Hi, everyone.
Also with the Public Works team is our consultant for the Main Street project, Darren Adrian. And our construction consultants, Omar Dandashi and Nick Biro. And back with us again, our professional Spanish translator, Nilda Anaya, who also is a Santa Ana resident. Yay, Nilda. We're honored to have attending our meeting tonight, Mayor Sarmiento, Mayor Pro Tem Penaloza, Councilmember Becerra, and our City Manager, Christine Ridge. Margarita, did I miss anyone?
I think you have, yeah, everyone. So thank you, Michelle.
Okay. If I did miss you, please raise your hand so we can recognize you. And I apologize if I did miss you. Before we start our presentation, Nabil Saba, our Public Works Executive Director, has a few words he wants to share with us. Nabil?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the South Main Corridor project update. We are really excited about this project. It's one of our largest projects that we will be constructing soon. I'd like to welcome Mayor Sarmiento and Council Member Becerra and Mayor Pro Tem David Penaloza, and also would like to welcome our city manager, Christine Bridge. The program today for you is we are going to talk to you a little bit about the history and the funding of the program, of the project. We'll talk a little bit about the improvement that the project will include, and we'll address a lot of the questions that were raised during last meeting that we had. We'll talk a little bit about the public arts that are included in this project or will be included in the project. And also we will introduce our construction management team for the project and give you a project update. I would like to just highlight one, and it's towards the very end of our presentation. We have a new project information and contact list. We have implemented a website or an address for this project where individuals can leave notes or and get more information about the project. We also have established a hotline that residents can call us in regards to the project. And also we have established a dedicated email address for residents to email us during the construction project and have any questions that they have or concerns. So we have increased our level of communication with the community, and I'm hoping that this would become a standard for most of our large projects in the future. With that, I'll turn it back to Michelle, and good to see all of you.
Thank you, Nabil. Would our mayor like to share a few comments to the community tonight? Mayor Sarmiento.
Yes, thanks, Michelle, and thank you for just a few moments. I know there's a lot of good information that's going to be shared with all of you, so welcome to everybody who participated in the previous community meeting. I wish we could be together and we wish we could be in person, but this is about as good as it gets. So I know that the staff has done a really, really good job in trying to engage as many people as they possibly could and also address a lot of the questions that were posed at the last meeting and obviously any questions that come up now. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's participating, from members of the public and the residents, because this really is your meeting and we want to take in as much information as we possibly can. There'll be information obviously that's shared with you, but what's vital is to have your engagement and to have your opinions. So, what really drove this project, and I've kind of lived with it for a while because I've had the privilege of representing that ward when I was a council member since 2008. And I know that there's always been an interest in trying to address things that may not be sexy to a lot of people, but are very sexy to us, which is infrastructure and safety and right-of-way issues that have always kind of plagued that corridor. And it's such a special place, that South Main area from First to Warner. It really is the quintessential Main Street, figuratively and literally. So I think now we're finally going to be able to use some of the funds that have been set aside through a previous lawsuit that was filed, and these funds are there and are going to be put to good use. And I think the best use is to not only plan for the present but plan for the future as well, to make sure that business owners, stakeholders, residents who live in and around South Main won't be dealing with problems having to do with their sewage, their water, different things that really can cripple a community. And I know that that's something that other communities that are as old or older than ours deal with often. So investment in that really helps things. And I know that we're going to be dealing specifically with right-of-way issues. The construction is going to be fairly invasive because there's a lot to be done there. So we, more than anything, want to ask for your patience and ask for your understanding. There are a lot of easements and, utility lines and connections that we'll be running into. As some of you may know, we're also under construction with the streetcar over in the downtown area. And so we've run into some things there that were unforeseeable and unexpected. So I hope we don't run into those same things here. But you can never tell. It's an older city. A lot has been done in the, not just the years since it's been founded, since, in the 1880s, but before. So I know over in downtown they found some archaeological artifacts and some things that you really want to preserve and make sure that you're not just building over them and disregarding them. So to the extent that we're going to be very careful and very thoughtful here, we just want to make sure that you all understand there may be some disruption in your traffic flow. Please bear with us. We don't want to do this twice. We want to do this once. So I know that our public works staff and our city staff is going to be connecting with our partners at the different utilities to make sure that if anything needs to be embedded, subsurface, they're able to do that now. But more importantly, I just want to thank everybody who's also kind of provided their own personal touch to making sure that this isn't only going to be an investment in infrastructure, but is going to be also something that looks uniform and consistent, and it'll be an aesthetic improvement to people who come and visit the city, people who live in the city, live in that neighborhood. So there is something that all of us can be proud of. That Main Street has some beautiful architecture, as many of you know. The architecture is, Art Deco, built in the 50s and designed, in that era. So to the extent that these infrastructure improvements will hopefully spur improvements from the private sector, those that, own businesses there, that have been there for a long time, who we want to have obviously stay and be successful. Those are the things that we're looking for. And, again, those that have lent themselves to introduce the element of art, public art in this corridor and throughout the city. I really thank you all, because, there really isn't a community, that can excel and that can be recognized as a world-class city without having world-class public art. So I'm very proud of, the steps that we've taken in the downtown and throughout the city. And hopefully this will be one more element and, and what is a really beautiful mosaic here in our city that we can hopefully put on display for everybody when they come and visit us, and those that obviously live here who are going to be enjoying it every day. So with that, let me go ahead, and I know there's some other council members that are joining us tonight, but I just want to thank staff, thank everybody. I probably won't be able to stay on because I have another meeting with the community having to deal with housing. As you know, there's many issues that are facing us there as well. So I'm just happy to be with all of you now and try to join as long as I can and listen to a lot of the good comments that are going to be made. Thank you. Back to you, Michelle.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been great to have you stop by tonight. Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to share a few comments?
Thank you, Michelle. Just wanted to welcome all of you tonight. Thank you for putting this together. And there's, like I said, I just basically here to listen to our community and our residents. I'm hoping we have more throughout this process. I know that the streetcar construction, like the mayor mentioned, has been a mess, but we're hoping that this doesn't become that. So with that said, welcome and thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And Councilmember Becerra, do you have a few comments you'd like to share? Is Councilmember Becerra with us tonight still?
Don't think so.
Okay,
He had
Oh, he
signed
is.
up earlier. Yes, he is. Let me.
There he is.
thank you, Margarita.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Hi, I just wanted to echo the sentiments of my colleagues and just say I'm happy that everybody's participating tonight. I think there's going to be some wonderful things for folks to hear about progress being made on South Main. These are all good improvements, and so I'm looking forward to hearing the presentation from staff. And again, thank you everybody for participating.
Thank you, Councilmember. And now our Public Works Senior Civil Engineer and the Project Manager, Sean Thomas, is excited to share the construction details for the South Main Street Corridor project. Sean?
Okay, bear with me for 1 second while I share my screen. Let's see. All right, do I have the right screen up? Can you see my presentation?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Let's get started. All right, good evening, everyone. Hopefully by now, most of you know who I am. But for those that don't, my name is Sean Thomas, and I'm from the Public Works Agency, and I'm here today to give you another update on the South Main Street corridor improvements. So since translation services are occurring during this meeting, I'll try to speak slowly and pause every now and then so that everyone receives the information clearly. Feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation, and the panel will do our best to answer them. So the main purpose of tonight's meeting is to update you on the construction of the project. I know we just had a meeting last month, and I don't want to repeat all the same information. However, for the benefit of those that did not attend, I'd like to briefly go over the funding, the history, scope, as well as review some of the questions and concerns that were brought up at the last meeting before getting into the construction component. So as for the project history, back in 2014, as a result of a legal settlement between the city's former redevelopment agency and Scott Peebler, the city set aside $4.7 million for public improvements within the South Main corridor. So the availability of these funds led to the development of what's called the vision plan, so that we can make sure that the money is spent wisely and it was well thought out and had community input. So since then, the city has secured and infused several other funding sources to make this project as complete as possible. So now the total project funds exceed over $18 million. All of these funds are dedicated to the street, roadway, and utility improvements within the existing street limits. So I just want to be clear here that we're not widening the roadway, we're not acquiring property, or doing any kind of development activities with this project. It's purely infrastructure throughout the corridor within the city's property. Okay, let's dive into the project now. So the original project, for those of you guys that have been involved with all the previous community meetings, you may notice that the original project was on South Main from Warner on the south to First Street on the north, spanning 2 miles. And pretty recently, and we mentioned it in the previous meeting, we're adding a pavement rehabilitation project just south of the original project limits from Main to Dyer. From Dyer to Warner. This will be packaged with this project, making the overall span 2.5 miles. This is a very unique project because it touches so many different neighborhood associations. We have the Pacific Park neighborhood, which used to be called Eastside neighborhood, Henninger Park neighborhood, Madison Park neighborhood, Wilshire Square neighborhood, Memorial Park, and Delhi neighborhoods, all touching this project in some way. Although there will be improvements throughout the entire corridor, the majority of the aesthetic enhancements will be made in 2 focus areas. So as you can see on the screen, these 2 focus areas are, the north focus area is from First Street to Chestnut, and the south focus area is from Stanford Street to St. Andrew. These focus areas were established during that vision plan. Remember I mentioned that vision plan document? So during that time, there were several community meetings, and the community came up with these 2 focus areas, and they're meant to be a testing ground for the entire, to kind of be tested for the rest of the corridor. So if the improvements and everything works out within these focus areas, and if it's the community's desire, we will extend these kind of improvements throughout the entire corridor if there's funding available.
Sean, I'd like
Yes.
Alyssa to share a few of the comments that are in the chat.
Sounds good.
Alyssa, can you share some of the chat comments right now?
Yes. So during the beginning, Sandra made a comment, Sandra Pochapena. She was asking if, can we have all folks giving public comments, please state if they are current Santa Ana residents before making their comments. She mentioned that that we have had folks calling into past South Main meetings identifying themselves as locals when they in fact were residents of other communities, San Francisco, South County, etc. And then we have Janelle Hardy, who says that agrees that that has been an issue. And then Janelle Hardy also mentioned the architecture on South Main Street, including significant examples of craftsmen And she also listed others as well. Bungalow, modern, art deco, streamline, red brick, revivals. And Sandra Pochapena also commented, thank you for extending the project to Dyer. That's all the comments for now, like the chat.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alyssa. And thank you, Pocha, for that nice comment. Sean, if you can continue to the next slide, please.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so let's talk about the improvements to the overall corridor. So the overall corridor is going to get improved landscaping. It's going to get, oh, and let me actually, before I continue, I want to just clarify the overall corridor is actually from Warner to First. So that portion that I mentioned that we added to the south is just a rehab project, but that's not technically part of that South Main corridor. So I just want to be clear that these overall corridor improvements are going to be occurring between Warner and First. So again, there's going to be improved landscaping. Though there will be street furniture upgrades like benches and bus shelters, trash cans, those types of things. We're going to delineate the parking spaces. So wherever there's parking right now, there's still going to be parking in those sections, but instead of just having open parking, it's not going to be metered or anything, but they're going to be identified on the street, but with tick marks. And this way, the parking is a lot more organized. So you don't have those situations where you wish that car would have just pulled up a little bit further so that another car could come in. This organizes the parking a lot better. There's going to be curb ramp upgrades. Wherever a curb ramp or wheelchair ramp is not ADA compliant, we're going to upgrade those. There's going to be median enhancements for the center medians. In some cases where there aren't center medians, we're adding center medians for various safety reasons, and those are going to be enhanced as well. We're going to be rehabbing the pavement all throughout. So by the end of this project, you're going to have brand new pavement. As I mentioned, the bus shelters are going to be upgraded. So the existing galvanized steel bus shelters are going to be relocated to a different part of the city. And these new style bus shelters are going to be installed similar to what we see on the screen there. In addition to that, there's going to be decorative light poles. So if you've noticed in the downtown area, we have these Edwardian style light poles. These same type of light poles are now going to be implemented throughout Main Street. Originally, we were thinking we can only do this in the focus areas, but I'm happy to say that we're going to be extending this throughout the entire South Main corridor. In addition to that, there's going to be sewer and water main improvements. So as I mentioned before, we want to make sure this is a complete project. We don't want to, do all these nice things to the roadway and then come back 5, 6, 7 years later and dig it up again just to replace the sewer or the water. So our, water and sewer team looked at the segment and they determined where we need to replace the sewer and where we need to replace the water. So those are going to be happening throughout the corridor wherever it is necessary.
Sean, we do have a chat. Alyssa,
Yes.
Can you share the chat, please?
Larry Gonzalez says, hi, everyone. Local resident check-in. He lives on Stanford and Main Street. Excited to hear details.
All right, thank you.
Please continue.
Okay. So now let's talk about the focus area improvements. So the focus area improvements are going to have all those features that I just talked about for the overall corridor, in addition to a few more features. So these features are sidewalk extensions. So at all the intersections, the sidewalk is going to extend out. Sometimes we refer to this as bulb outs. And the reason for this is to decrease the crossing distance for pedestrians, as well as slow down vehicle traffic. And these extensions will sometimes happen across the side streets and on Main Street. But sometimes it will just be on the side streets. It just depends on the available space right now on the corridor. So that's something to look out for. There'll also be, decorative concrete and landscaping within these bulb outs. There will be enhanced crosswalks, concrete intersections. So the intersections, right now, as you know, it's all asphalt, but in these focus areas, we're going to be implementing decorative concrete intersections to give it a very nice look. In addition to that, the street furniture is going to be updated, kind of like what you see on the screen. There's going to be monument signage. So there'll be a monument sign, in the north focus area that's going to be very similar to what you see. This sign has changed. If you've noticed from previous meetings, it had a different look. And after just hearing some of the feedback from the community, we made now the top of this sign more reflect the historic sign that goes across Main Street near the Warner end. So now that's, it ties in better. So we really appreciate the community's input on that. And we did implement a change. So that's in our current plan. In addition, in the focus areas, there's going to be string lighting. So there's going to be string lighting that zigzags across the two focus areas to give it a very unique look and a festive environment. And the last thing that I want to highlight for the focus areas is that all the regular signposts are going to be replaced with these decorative black signposts that more match the street lighting. Another thing I do want to mention is the bench. So originally we had a kind of a different looking bench as part of the plan, but we've heard community feedback, and we want to match more and be consistent with the lighting, with everything else that's happening in the corridor. And we're going to replace the bench with some sort of a more Edwardian style bench, which is kind of representative on the screen right now.
Sean, we do have a
Yes.
couple chats on the improvements.
Sure.
Alyssa, can you read the chats first, please?
Yeah. So Ben Mendoza mentioned at the last meeting, we brought up the homeless issue. That is still a problem, especially at Main and Warner, where McDonald's and CVS are.
Okay, thanks for that comment. We're actually going to touch on that in the next couple slides to when we talk about the questions asked from the previous meetings. So I'll address it when we get there. And if there's any other questions about that, please feel free to ask.
Okay.
We have a few others.
Sandra Pochapena commented, "Thank you for ensuring the bus shelters, benches, and waste bins match the Edwardian light posts. Can you confirm that we will have freestanding posts installed at each bus stop on east and west sides so we can post historical markers?"
Yes, we did receive that request, and we're going to look into that. We have to, that wasn't part of the original plan, obviously, so we have to inquire with our contractor and get pricing and make sure that we can do that. But that is our priority, and we are going to do whatever we can to make that happen. So we will be, attempting that for sure, and we'll keep you posted.
Okay, thanks, Sean. And lastly, Crystal M commented, "I feel like it doesn't make sense to decorate the city if we still have a major homeless problem. Sadly, everything is being trashed."
Okay, yeah, thanks for that comment. Again, we'll touch on the homeless issue. Obviously, the homeless issue is much larger than this project, but we will touch on that.
Sean, if you'll continue, please.
Okay. All right, so now I'd like to go over some of the questions and concerns from the previous meeting. I just want to be clear that this is not all the questions. There were several great comments and questions from the previous meeting, but these are just some of the ones that we have some answers for. And for the project website, which I'll talk about a little bit later, is going to have a more comprehensive list once we get that up and running of all the FAQs. And as always, you're going to have my contact information. You're going to have Michelle's contact information. At any time, if you feel like you need to ask a question or your question wasn't answered, you can always reach out to us and we'll make sure to get back to you. So one of the questions was regarding residential demolition. Will residential demolition occur? No. The answer is no. Private property acquisition or demolition is part of this project. A question came up about schools and how those will be affected. Other than obvious, there's going to be some traffic delays, of course, with any construction, but access to schools and businesses and crossings will always be maintained during construction. In addition, we're going to make sure that we coordinate very closely with the schools. There was a question about street racing and mitigation. So these new bulb outs and curb extensions are going to naturally slow down vehicles, hopefully. I mean, that's the idea behind them. In addition, we're going to continue to work with the PD to do enforcement. This project is not increasing any of the speed limits. The speed limits on Main are already pretty low. They're at 35 miles per hour. So we're not increasing that. So I think it's just a matter of enforcement, which will, we'll continue to work with the PD. There was questions about bus service. So bus service is provided by OCTA, and improvements at bus stops will likely require temporary relocations of those stops. But we're going to make it a point to make sure that we, try and minimize that impact as much as possible. Try not to take out two, consecutive stops at the same time, or relocate these stops very close by so that it's not a major inconvenience to transit riders. So we'll be working with OCTA on that. As far as preventative measures to reduce homeless. So, the homeless issue, we all know, it's a very hard issue, and it's a tough one to tackle. And there are several initiatives that, we're trying to take care of it citywide. But as far as this project, nothing we're going to implement is going to attract homelessness. In fact, any benches or seating that we're going to install with this project, we're going to make sure that we purchase the ones that have the center armrests to prevent anyone from laying down on those. So that's going to be our attempt, to not basically install anything that's going to invite homelessness. All right, there was a couple questions about dark fiber and whether it can be laid while we have, the main trenches open. Unfortunately, with utility trenches, especially like what we call them wet utility, meaning like the water and the sewer, we can't put those kind of communication cables within the same trench. We did, however, conduct a citywide study and determined that the cost to install dark fiber throughout the city is in excess of $13 million. So because of the overwhelming cost, we've engaged our IT department to explore possibilities of a public-private partnership to eventually get this done. And we've also reached out to the communication companies to let them know that our project, we're going to be starting construction soon. We're going to have, a street rehab project where we're going to be opening up the street. So if they have the desire to put in their communication right now, this will be a great opportunity, and the city will do whatever it can to help them facilitate that. Whether that means expedite their permitting or waiving fees, we're willing to do it to get this fiber in, if that's, their plan, and if they're willing to do it. We'll be a willing partner.
Sean, we do have a question. It's in the chat. Alyssa, can you share that, please?
Sure.
Yeah. Lissandro asked, is it possible for Sean to complete his presentation and leave questions and comments at the end? Kathleen Gill says, hi, and will this PowerPoint be available online?
Yes, so I think this PowerPoint, we'll make sure that it is available online. This whole presentation is being recorded right now, and it will also be posted on YouTube and on the city's website. So just like the previous meeting. And the questions, I'm open. If you want to save them to the end, that's fine with me. If you want to ask them throughout, that's okay with me as well. So whatever you guys want to do, it's your show.
We do have 2 comments in the chat regarding the dark fiber. Alyssa, if you can read those, please.
Yeah, so Manny Escamilla asked, is micro trenching an option for the fiber or laying down empty conduit?
So, I'm not sure. It's kind of going to be up to the communication companies to see what they would like to do. So again, we've engaged with them, and we're trying to, basically make sure that we're open to them coming in during our project to make it happen. So if you have like more specific questions about that, I think it would be best to just reach out to me directly, and then I can try and get the answer for you, because I'm not sure of all the options right now without talking to the communication companies.
Okay. There's another question from Ben Mendoza. I have seen in other cities that bus stop benches have divided seating. In other words, 2 armrests spaced out so that individual people sit in each section, 3 seats per bus bench. Is that possible?
Yes, I think it's possible, and that's our goal, is to select the bus bench with the option of the intermittent armrests.
And another question from Sandra Pochapena. Even if the dark fiber is not installed, can you ensure that the conduit is installed for future upgrades?
So that's something, again, that we'll look into with the communication companies to see if that's a possibility.
Okay. And then for everyone in attendance, Margarita Macedonio commented that as Santa Ana Police Department Sergeant Montiel and Homeless Services Manager Terry Eggers commented at the previous South Main meetings, please continue to report homeless encampment concerns throughout the city using the My Santa Ana app. And then the web link for that is on the chat box. And another comment was made by Sandra Pochapena, empty conduit at the very least should be included. And then we have Richard F. Garcia, who says, is there potential to permanently relocate the bus stop location at 2112 South Main Street at the 7-Eleven, as it is next to the entrance of the parking lot? Move it further south, traffic is backed up to St. Gertrude if a bus is there.
That's a great comment. If you can reach out, or we can reach out to you if we get your contact information, or if not, you can always email me and I can coordinate a response from, we have to coordinate that with OCTA to see if that's a possibility. But that's a great comment. If there's a current issue right now with the stop location, this could be a good time to relocate it. So thank you.
Okay. And another question from BJ, how much focus will be given to the road resurfacing? More emphasis seems to be given to other beautification goals.
That's a great question as well. We are doing whatever is required for the road. So in some areas where the road is in really bad shape, we're replacing the entire section. In other cases where it's not so bad, we're going to be doing a grind and overlay where we're grinding off a few inches and putting back in fresh asphalt. We always, in the city, we put in the premium asphalt, the rubber asphalt, which is kind of a premium. Not all cities do that, but we like to do it because it gives us the best performance and lasts the longest. We're not skimping on the pavement at all. And in fact, we're putting in concrete pavement in intersections, which is, a lot more expensive and lasts a lot longer as well. So I can say, rest assured, the pavement is going to get, a very nice upgrade.
Yeah. Another question, Janelle Hardy asks, can the utilities that are now housed in those above ground boxes be put underground at time of trenching?
That's something we can look into, but it's very unlikely. It's, it's without doing a whole undergrounding project. Even nowadays, when we try those undergrounding projects, the utility boxes, it's hard to get them underground. So it's something that we can look into, but unfortunately, I don't think it's very likely. And trying to do something like that, it takes a really long time to coordinate with the utilities. Maybe sometime in the distant future, I would say, but right now it's not a very likely possibility for this project, at least.
Okay. And Tom B commented, reporting the homeless issue doesn't help. They are on my property all day, every day. And then we have Janelle Hardy. Again, even painted, those above ground utility boxes are not attractive and have visibility safety issues. Please look into it, thanks. I don't see those boxes in other cities. And that's the end of the comments for now in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. And Sean, if you'll continue to the next slide, please.
Just we have one more question on this slide. So
Oh,
this is the question regarding the arts and the cultural component of this project. So, I just want to be clear that, this project that we're doing right now is not the end all be all, project for South Main. The improvements are going to be happening, in phases. This is kind of one major component, which is the infrastructure part, meaning the roadways, the sidewalks, the lighting, and the underground utilities. But with that being said, we did, after the last meeting, community members, representatives met with Public Works to discuss the South Main Art, Retail, and Technology, or the SMART initiative. And we have engaged with our CDA, our Community Development Agency, and we're willing to implement anything that goes through the Arts and Culture Commission. I think it's important that we run everything through the existing city commission, and once approved by the commission, we can then work on a funding and implementation plan to make those things happen. If we can fund it with our project, we'd be happy to do that. We have some contingency for this project, and that's really meant for unforeseen conditions and things like that happen during construction. But as we're going along, if it looks like we're going to have some money where we can, implement some of these things that are approved, then we'd be happy to do that. And if not, it's something that we will work closely with with CDA to implement sometime in the future. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce you to the main point of contact for anything art related. Her name is Tram Lee, and she's actually the Arts and Cultural Specialist for the City of Santa Ana. And she's going to go over the next few slides.
Thank you, Sean. But did you want to read some more comments before I move on, Alyssa and Michelle?
Alyssa, do we have a couple more that we can read that
Yeah.
reference back? you.
Margarita commented back to Tom that our office neighborhood initiatives program will follow up with him directly. And then she provided her email address, and then Sandra Pochapena commented, Fullerton Fiber City is a great local model for upgrading technology infrastructure. And then Tom says, thank you.
Tom, thank you.
Okay, well, hello, everybody. Good evening. And as Sean had said, I'm so glad that we're brought in and we're being part of this at this stage of this project, this very long project. And we're happy to say that we have some really lovely boxes, 11 boxes actually, along the 2.5 miles of the project, 11 of them on South Main. As you can see on the slide, the addresses or the corners that have asterisks on them means that they're still in process, but that's only 3. The rest of them are fully painted, as you see here. They were power washed before they were painted. And then an anti-graffiti coating was put over it so that we could more easily, clean it up. Because actually, some of these artists had to spend time scraping off an inch thick of paint that, after decades of painting over, tagging and whatnot, so before they could even paint it, because it was cracking under all of that layers and layers of paint. But it's been a great project to put onto Main and brighten up all those spots. Next slide, please. Another public art idea that we have, and for the following ones, it's all dependent on funding, as Sean says, and as many of you know, these we'd love to implement things like this where things are already happening. Public Works is already pouring the cement, so one idea would be to do stamp poetry on the sidewalks and stamp it onto the concrete. We would collect poetry from the community, from the residents around there, and then have a panel to select what poetry would go on if we have too many. And that would be a wonderful problem to have, is to have too many. people participate, and then stamp it on the grounds along different paths, as well as dance moves. This is the waltz here, but we can have many different kinds, tango, any kind of dance, and we'd bring a dancer out to actually do that, map out them, so that this would be a wonderful discovery as you're walking along to work, to school, and coming home. And these are things that we can integrate into what the project is already doing for not that much more in cost. Next slide, please. And finally, these are locations for potential art installations. As you can see here, Main and Pine parking lot, Main and McFadden landscape area where the green boxes are circling or framing where it's possible to have an art installation, and parking lot at 1022 South Main. And for those, we encourage ideas that you may have. Again, the more that it integrates with what Public Works is already doing regarding construction, then the easier it is to find funding for that. And finally, the fence outside Lathrop Intermediate. The idea there is to work with the school and the students there to come up with some kind of mural or fencing design here that would incorporate their ideas, as well as something you think that would represent that neighborhood.
Graham, we do have a few comments in the chat. Alyssa, would you share those, please?
Yeah. Richard F. Garcia commented and asked, also at Manolasqueta Elementary School, can the parent vehicle drop-off zone for students be rerouted? It also backs up traffic on South Main to Broadway. And we have Celica who commented, this example of sidewalk poetry and dance looks great. And then Erica Gonzalez commented, for future reference, selected artists must live, not work in Santa Ana, and neighborhood associations need to also be included in selection process of artists and designs.
Thank you, Alyssa. Richard, this is Michelle McAuliffe, and I'll see that your comment is reviewed by our traffic engineers, and then I'll get back to you with the results. Thank you so much.
And Nabil, did you have anything else you'd like to add to public arts in general?
Yeah, thank you, Lam. I just wanted to reiterate what the concept here is, because of the interest of public arts in this project, and we've heard it from the community and also our electeds, and the challenge of us in Public Works on what we would implement for public arts. We would like to, everyone that is interested in any public arts in this project, to channel that request by the culture or the Art and Culture Commission through you, Lam Lee, so we can at least engage the commission in the decision making and the selection of the art. And once that selection is made by the commission and a recommendation from the commission would come to us in Public Works, and at that time we would basically look at our budget, see if we can afford to build these public art features at this time as part of the project. And if we have the funding, then we would be more than happy to do that and include them on those 4 locations that we have. Again, you know, the project is a public works project within the right of way. We have selected these 4 locations because the city owns them. And we can do something that can bring art to the community and satisfy your needs or your interest in art. So I would love to all the requests to go through the commission, the Arts and Culture Commission, and then come to us in Public Works for implementation. I am really excited about this project, and I am looking forward for you know, the ideas and the opinions and the arts that it's going to come out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nabil. I guess I'm just going to give it back to Sean now.
Okay, thank you, Tram. So just before we go into the construction update, I do want to mention that at the end of this presentation, we're going to have contact information listed, and Tram's contact information will be there. So for any art related inquiries, you'll have the right contact for that. So on with the presentation, the construction update. So since the last meeting, the city officially awarded the construction contract to CS Legacy. So back when a month ago, we hadn't officially had that award, but now we do, and we're able to share with you that it's CS Legacy. And we've had a great experience working with CS Legacy in the past. So the city's pretty excited that they ended up being the low bidder. And they've recently done some great projects for the city, including the Center Street Urban Greening Project, as well as some civic center improvements. So the tentative construction schedule is about 1 year, and it's going to start as early as late March of next month. So that's the schedule. And for this project, we decided to hire a construction management firm. And the role of a construction management firm is to coordinate closely with business owners, to keep the project on time and on budget, to help us solve any issues that come up from unforeseen conditions, and just to help us just on the overall construction management. And the firm that we selected for this is Boutier Engineering, in conjunction with Blue Mountain Development. And we're really excited to bring them on because they have a great construction manager. His name is Omar Dandashi. And Omar has a wealth of knowledge and experience in managing construction projects of all sizes, from smaller ones to even ones much larger. And I got to say, it's been a pleasure so far to work with him and his team. And I think we're all lucky to have him on this job. And I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Omar now, and he's going to be presenting the next few slides. Go ahead, Omar.
Thank you very much, Sean. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the compliment for our team and our work we're planning on doing with the city. And we very much have enjoyed being into the city as well at this point. We do like working on projects that are complex and projects that require a lot of community insight, and also really do enjoy being able to interact with the community as we put things together, because we are working on behalf of you as well as the city, and it's really just a pleasure to be here. So the city does hire construction management firms, essentially with the concept of trying to make sure that we have critical attention to projects that are out there, and also the details. And so really what we're trying to do is to be a team, an extension of the city staff, and we're here to try to make sure that we can provide not only the delivery of the project, but also an attempt to try to make sure that we are able to be in communication with you. And so that role is something we do take very seriously. We will have our presence on site, as well as availability through either email or through phone numbers that will be available to us, as well as some of the things that Sean's already discussed about having overall contact that we can have through the city's website, as well as their social media platform. May I have the next slide, please? So on the construction update, we wanted to start talking a little bit of how sequencing would happen out there. So we do have a lot of work to do. And we do know that that work will come through your neighborhoods, through your businesses, as well as access that you're concerned with parking. We do want to make sure that we end up having a product that you really want to have. We want your basics to work. We want your water and your sewer to work. We want your circulation to be fine. We also want to put the landscape and lighting improvements that the city has, the enhancements through the traffic calming. We want to try to do it in a very organized fashion. And so we're beginning our planning process and how we're going to look at staging with CS Legacy. So we're excited to work with them too, because they have a really good experience with the city. And we will be putting in a lot more detail in the future, but we wanted to tell you a little bit more of what we're going to do currently. So we are going to maintain on our focus with construction, very specific things that are a concern to the community. And if there is additional input that you have, we would very much like to hear it. So Sean has mentioned, we will have circulation maintained, 1 lane in each direction. There are some parts of the corridor that are narrower and some parts that are a little wider. So we will find ourselves working in the center of the street or working on the outside. But in any event, we will make sure that we have full circulation all the way through. We also want to make sure that everyone understands that we will be having access to businesses and residents. So as we come through with different elements of work, we will be in touch with you. We have part of our team is Nick Bureau, and he is also going to be out there being able to be in touch, to talk to you, make sure you have information well in advance. I'm accessible, he's accessible, Sean is accessible. So we want to make sure that you do have the ability to reach out to us as much as you need to. Now, we do know that construction will always provide some disruptions out there. And I think we want to make sure we minimize that. So our goal is always to be by your side and make sure that we coordinate any of the utility interruptions, and whether it's a property owner or a business tenant, it doesn't really matter from our side. We want to make sure that we're in touch with you at all levels. Now, the next slide, please. So our first initial phase, we want to walk you through a little bit of what's going to happen, is we're going to focus on the underground initially. And so with that is the sewer lines. So the sewer is located in the center of the street. You can see a bit of an example all the way over on the left. We are not doing sewer the entire stretch. So we're going to be going from Andrew Place to Ettinger Avenue. With that in mind, we will be using the center area when we first initially start and leave the outside lanes for that circulation. So for some of the questions that you've had about parking, by doing this kind of movement, we will be restricting some of the parking on the edges, but we want to try to make sure we're working very closely with CS Legacy to make sure that we're not going to impact particularly how you can have parking. If you have access to an on-site parking lot, we'll make sure that always does maintain and will be there in place. Once we are completed with everything, your parking will be restored back. You'll have the edge parking that you're looking for with all the upgrades that Sean mentioned on the striping to make sure it's more efficiently used. The other component that we are going to start with is in some areas where we don't do the undergrounds work, we're going to start looking at the street improvements as well. So what we need to closely try to understand with our contractor is to make sure that we look at circulation in a way that we can transition, make sure it's safe, make sure the information is available out there for the driver and also for the commuter as well as the pedestrian. So our focus is going to be all those areas as we start our planning at this point. The next slide, please.
Omar, can we just pause for a moment? I wanted to ask
Absolutely.
Alyssa if there's comments in the chat that we need to review.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the latest, Danny Lupita Ramirez commented, hello, can you consider fixing the sidewalk edge on Cuban Street, street in front of Franklin Elementary? It's cracked in various sections. And then we have Sandra Pochapena commented, large photo murals of South Main history can be printed on vinyl banners and mounted on that Lathrop fence. Movie star Marlon Brando attended Lathrop. And then Irma commented, he did live in Wilshire Square. By the way, we will have our centennial in 2023.
Okay. Sean, can you share any insights about repairing the sidewalk on Cuban?
Sure. Yes, we'll definitely look into that. The goal with this project is to repair any damaged sidewalk as much as we can, as much as our budget allows us to. So for sure, the first priority is anything that creates a trip hazard. We want to 100% remove and replace to make things safe. The next level is, cracks and things like that. While we're going through this project, we do want to do our best to replace anything that's damaged. So we will take a look at that location and, try our best to incorporate it. It might already be scheduled for replacement. Hopefully it is. But if not, we'll look at it. The thing with sidewalks, it's a moving target. But when we're doing this design, we have, there's certain damages, but by the time we get out to construction, there could be more damages. So we want to make sure that we capture all that before we get out of the area. So we will be looking to replace anything damaged as much as we can.
Thank you, Sean. Tram, are you able to address the comment from Pocha?
Oh, about the large photo murals? Yes, I think that's a wonderful idea. And I think this is something that we could take to the arts commissioners and discuss more about different ideas. As we collect more ideas, I think we will present it at once. So please, if anybody else has idea, please email me. My contact is at the end of the presentation.
Tram, this is Nabil. I just wanted to add that the possibility of installing things on the fence is a great possibility, but visibility between the two sides of the streets is an issue. So we will have to consider things that is not so covering the entire fencing. So
Solid.
that would be a traffic issue for us, but we will consider anything that may come in. But again, visibility is an issue for us. So just to let you know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Michelle, this is Margarita.
Thank you. Yes,
So
Margarita.
we had a comment from Irma Hadagi of Wilshire Square. She was inquiring if it would be possible to connect the associations at their monthly meetings, the Zoom meetings, to go into a little bit detail, like explaining the sections that border their neighborhood so that they have an opportunity to get better idea and more participation. And I just wanted to clarify from Irma if she was referring to like the arts component that Tram had shared, or if it was regarding in general the segments of the construction project. So I don't know if I can just ask Irma to clarify over the on her phone, Michelle.
Okay, let me see if I can. You need to unmute her.
Yeah.
And which number is she?
I can click on it if you like, because
Please.
I found her on the row. Hold on. So
Thank you.
Irma Hadagi, if you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Margarita. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Irma.
Hi.
Hi. No, it's lovely, and I'm excited. We've been talking about this for so many years, being from the inception. Yes, because even though there's several of us from different neighborhoods, and we've been following along all this time, in the associations, you'll get the boards and more of the neighbors if we can let them know, like we have the first Wednesday of the month at 7 o'clock. So if you have a little presentation, especially what applies to us in our area, and they're more cognizant, and if they want to give ideas of art, because we have quite a few artists in the neighborhood, that would be phenomenal. I can post on Nextdoor, we can let everybody know, and then they can participate and just give them a heads up both on the art and the infrastructure work, so everybody can be prepared and also contribute if possible.
I think that's a terrific suggestion, Irma, and we welcome the participation in the meeting.
I know that our neighborhood would be absolutely thrilled to see that and hear that a little bit more, because some of our neighbors just make time for the Zoom meetings once a month.
So Irma, in the case of Wilshire Square, we're looking at next week, next Wednesday, March 3rd, as an opportunity. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Irma.
And then you can call, Madison and Janelle there and Henninger and Bocha and Salika on Pacific Park, et cetera, to go down. And that way you have a wider reach. So I think that would be good.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Irma.
You're welcome.
Alyssa, do we have a couple more chats?
Yes. Larry Gonzalez says, hi, Tram. The art aspect of this is what needs much greater focus and funding. This could have the most lasting impact for pennies on the dollar relative to the project size. Thank you for the art-focused presentation, and thank you to the city for finally bringing it forward this evening. And then we have Irma Haruvi asking, will you be including dark fiber conduit?
Sean, did you want to reply to that comment?
Yeah, so as mentioned before, we have reached out to the communication companies to give them the opportunity to put in their conduits throughout during our project, and we will do whatever we can to facilitate that with them. So we are going to look into it, and it's it's in progress to figure out if we can or if they're willing to do it or not.
Okay. Danny and Lupita Ramirez commented, thank you. And I should be more specific. It's broken, not cracked, regarding the sidewalk that they mentioned previously. And then we have John Hanna, a resident of Orange, but representing Southwest Carpenters residing in Santa Ana and elsewhere. Who is the general contractor for these improvements, and where is their principal office located? Also, have any subcontractors been selected yet? And if so, please identify them.
Sean, can you address that?
Yeah, so the I can try because I don't have it all in front of me at the moment, but the general contractor is CS Legacy, and he does have different subconsultants that I don't unfortunately have with me right now, but this went to council, and all that information is on the council, on the agenda website, and it's all public information. It can be accessed. If you reach out to me after this meeting, I can be more than happy to share it with you. I just don't have it right in front of me right now.
And then Irma Harugi, other ideas in future is to allow or encourage property and businesses to have vintage style signage, something like the circle in orange.
Because I will watch it. I like Idaho.
And then we have Ben Mendoza, who mentioned, who has a question. We are at 2041 South Main. From construction update slide on screen, does that mean from St. Andrews South to Dyer, there will be no sewer or street improvements?
Sean or Omar, which one of you have the?
I can answer that. So from St. Andrews South, there's going to be street improvements throughout the entire corridor, all the way from Dyer on the south to First Street on the north. So throughout that entire segment, the street is going to be repaved as appropriate. And then there's going to be, more improvements, as I mentioned, between Warner and First. And then throughout, between Warner and First, in certain segments that require sewer upgrades and water upgrades, those are going to take place. So we're gonna make sure that we do whatever's required right now, so we don't have to come back anytime soon. If you don't see us doing those water sewer repairs in front of your property, that just means that it's already in good shape, and it's gonna, we don't foresee having to maintain it anytime soon.
Okay. And then John Hanna again, the design and plans that I have seen look like very solid improvements. Former city manager Dace Ream was talking about South Main improvements in the 1980s. Have you generally had positive feedback from the business community and the various neighborhood groups?
I think so. I think in general we have, and I think that almost anyone can appreciate the investment that we're going to be making in South Main. As Nabil mentioned, this is one of the largest projects that we've ever had, and I'm really proud to bring this project to the community. I think it's well overdue, and I hope that it'll be well received, and I think it will. I think it is.
Okay. And then we have Irma Harubi, who asked neon signage.
Question, correct.
Irma, did you want to kind of expand on that? Neon signage, what do you mean by that?
Hello, everybody. I was trying to connect with my other message about signage to put into code, because we have a corridor that was built between the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And if we could have signage that feels of that period of history. The Circle of Orange has beautiful neon signage that when you go there at night, it looks beautiful. And we could encourage that to our property business owners. It would be fabulous. If we're like a Highway 101, 66, there's a lot of automotive businesses, and it would be so wonderful if we can encourage that and code would allow.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely a great suggestion that can be, if you can engage with our planning division, and I'm pretty sure it'll all have to go through them. But I think, that's definitely within the realm of possibility. It just has to go through, whatever proper channels has to take place.
Sean, this is Margarita with the planning division also. I have that hat too. And so Irma, that is something that we can bring back. We have our staff that work on like historic preservation. And so that has been a priority for the city. So definitely like all of these comments on the design are very critical. So we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's just connecting all of those little dots that would make such a cohesive look. I'm not trying to make it Disney. I'm thinking cars, but we have the real thing. We have the real historic, old school South Main, and it would just be phenomenal if we can incorporate all those elements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Irma. We have Celica who has a comment. I would strongly suggest to get the input of the business owners that are located along Main Street because their business will be impacted.
Yes, that's always been our goal, and we have received a lot of input and implemented, as much as we can. So we'll continue to listen, and we welcome any input and feedback.
And then William Galvez commented the vision plan was based on community input and served as the basis for the street design.
Yes, that is true. And that was well thought out and well attended by the community back when it was developed.
And then Sandra Pochapena commented, I want to support the comment on encouraging vintage styled signs. Please consider historic design ordinance relating to signs and facades. This historic character would be preserved and enhanced with these design guidelines. And then we have Dale Helvig. Start date is this March. When is the proposed completion date?
Right now it's tentatively scheduled to last about 1 year. We don't have we haven't finalized the schedule with the contractor yet, as we're just getting started. But once we have a more concrete schedule, we will be posting, the general schedule online.
Alyssa, we do have a raised hand, and I'd like to acknowledge Erica Gonzalez. Erica, I'm going to let you talk. Erica, can you hear us?
Yes, hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Very clear.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of put in my 2 cents in regards to the businesses being in support of this project. I'm a co-founder of the South Main Street Business Association, and I can tell you flat out, the businesses are not in support of this project. Most of the communication has been in lack of. We've had very little input. There's only been maybe 3 community meetings. We can go back through all the information. Every meeting we have, you guys try to act like you have included the community this whole entire process, but you haven't. Let's be honest. You have not been including our input. There was very few meetings held prior to the vision plan being established. And I really want to reiterate that we need community benefit agreements prior to the construction beginning on the South Main Street corridor, because I want to avoid what has happened on the Warner project, the Warner expansion project. We've been told that we cannot have community benefit agreements because you've already started the construction there. So if you start the construction on South Main prior to establishing community benefits agreement, we're going to fall into the same cycle of the community wanting to put an input and you guys putting on a dog and pony show, and then nothing happens. Our input is not taken into consideration. The city continues on as it wishes, and real community input is not included. So again, community benefit agreements, because there is potential development sites in this area. So we need to ensure that the existing community will not be displaced. And I'm looking at your vision plan. There's at least a handful of locations where you have a development site potential. So we need to discuss those areas as well. And I'd also like to point out that one of the main reasons, or one of the first steps or first phases to bringing in development is sewage, expanding sewage, which is the first phase of this project. So I know you guys want to tell me all day long that there's no development being planned here, but your actions say otherwise. So in order for me to have trust in you as not only a Santa Ana resident, lifelong Santa Ana resident, but also as a Santa Ana business owner and as a community organizer, you guys need to do what you say and represent the city and its constituent and your constituents, as well as the business owners. Thank you.
Erica, thank you so much. William, are you available to share some insights about the sewer development?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. The sewer system is not being expanded, nor is the water system being expanded. We are upgrading the system so that we can provide more reliable water service and reliable sewer service. So in certain cases, if the sewer lines are below a certain standard, that would be the only reason why we would upsize a sewer main. I don't know the details on this particular project, but the sewer mains are being rehabbed so that they can continue functioning. A typical life of a sewer system is 80 years. The system has been in place for a long time, so we want to make sure that we get another 50 to 80 years out of it. The same thing can be said for the water system. We want to make sure that the water system continues to provide potable, safe drinking water in a reliable manner. I hope that answers part of the question.
William, thank you. Rudy, do you have additional insights on the sewer development that you can share? Rudy?
Yes, as it relates to sewer, yeah, the city engineer hit the nail on the head. What we are doing for sewer is taking and replacing pipes that are 80 plus years old, and taking infrastructure that is substandard to today's engineering design criteria and bringing them up to code, so to speak. So there's no William is correct. There's no expansion of the sewer water systems. We're just bringing everything up to code.
Thank you, Rudy. William, can you also share some additional insights about the community benefit agreement?
Yes, I believe that there was some information that Sean was going to be providing, so I don't want to steal any of Sean's thunder.
Okay.
But the understanding of community benefit agreements is that they mostly apply to private developments where there's going to be a lot of property being redeveloped or developed new. And so there has to be some agreements between the development and the impacts of those developments onto the community. So that's why there has to be some kind of a give and take in the form of a community benefits agreement. One of the things that Sean was trying to emphasize at the beginning of this presentation and in prior presentations is that the South Main infrastructure improvements is all in the public right of way. It's the street component of the vision plan. So the vision plan does link street improvements to private property, potential private property development, but this project only touches on the street aspect of that. Hopefully, private properties along South Main are able to take advantage of these street improvements to upgrade and enhance their properties.
Thank you, William. Yeah, that, you pretty much covered everything on the topic. I know this says Erica's been bringing this up, and to be honest, when she first brought it up and this was first brought up to our attention, I had no idea even what a community benefits agreement was, because we're here in the infrastructure business. We're just doing public improvements, and then I come to find out that that's more of a development related agreement that can be in place. So just want to reiterate, we're not dealing with that with this project. We're here to just put in the infrastructure and create a beautiful street for the residents.
Okay, and Bill, you had a few comments you wanted to add?
Oh, no, did I raise my hand? Sorry.
Yes.
I just want to reinforce what Sean mentioned about the community benefit agreement. It is an agreement that is typically and normally structured between a private developer and the community. And like Sean mentioned, what we're doing here is strictly right-of-way improvement, which includes street, sewer, water. And again, like Rudy and William mentioned, the improvement on the sewer and the water is to add reliability to the existing system. The water is aging, so is the sewer. Lines are aging, and we are in need of replacing it. It would be irresponsible of us as a public works agency not to improve on those utilities because of this project. This project will enhance for a long time the pavement, and before we pave the street and make it look better, we are responsible of looking at what's below and do all we can to improve or what is below the ground, so it would last a long time and not having to dig up the street over and over again to make repairs. So I think it's a wise engineering decision for us to look at the infrastructure underground, water and sewer, and that's what we are exactly doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Nabil. Alyssa, can you share the chat that we just received?
Yeah, there's a couple. Danny and Lupita Ramirez asked, Franklin, PFO, and some community members want to improve the perimeter of Northgate and Franklin. Who can we meet to address this?
Sean, is that something you can answer? Is that planning development?
Yeah, I think they're talking about private property, if I'm not mistaken. And if that's the case, I believe it would be with planning.
Okay.
Possibly Margarita can provide them the contact information.
Okay. And then we have Sandra Pocha Pena. The city of Williams, Arizona, right on Route 66, has robust retro design ordinances. These policies have greatly enhanced the region's history. Can we do the same?
Would that be a tramway?
I think that we need to reach out to planning and building and establish those kind of ordinances. So it's really up to the planning and building agency to establish those kind of standards.
Correct.
Is Margarita still with us?
Yeah, I am. I unmuted myself, so I apologize. I was talking
Thank
earlier,
you.
then so anyway, this is like another example, just like Sandra Pochapena's comment earlier about suggestions that would tie into some sort of historic like design ordinance, something that would apply to areas or zones like the South Main Corridor. So this is great feedback. I think definitely, the vision that the community leaders, along the corridor want to see. And so, yeah, this is like another concrete example of what we are going to share with the planning team. Thank you.
Thank you, Margarita. Alyssa, if you continue
I
with the
wanted to,
chat.
I'm sorry, one more thing. I wanted to respond to Mr. Ramirez. So I know that Danny, he's involved with the Franklin parent, group at the school. So Mr. Ramirez, I have your email, so I can definitely follow up with you to get the details. If it's a cleanup or if it's, what specifically are you looking? Because we've received other types of, concerns. But I know there's always the energy with the parents to help with cleaning up the area or make sure that it's maintained well. Okay,
Thank you,
that's all.
Margarita. Thank
Okay,
you, Margarita.
so we have Janelle Hardy commented, I too support design guidelines with suggestions for appropriate period signage, including neon, as part of South Main Street design guidelines. Existing architectural styles and character defining features should be identified. Thank you. And then we have Larry Gonzalez. She brings up a good point. I was wondering about underground work can be expensive. I would hope it's not taking the lion's share of this budget. Locking value underground for the future 6-story developers. Question: what is the approximate percentage cost ratio between below underground excavation, sewer type work, street level work like base, asphalt and concrete, and above ground work like signage, bus stops? P.S. avoid underground during rainy season, or we're going to assume intentional overspending.
William, can you share insights on Larry's question?
Yeah, those are very good questions. I think I'll be very brief to allow some of the other engineers to comment. But in general, the funding that we've made available for this project for the sewer and water improvements come from the sewer and water fund. So those funds, if they're not needed, wouldn't be part of this project. If more sewer and water funds were needed because the system was really in much worse shape, we'd probably make more sewer and water funds available. So it's kind of an independent system. We are upgrading the undergrounding so that once we pave and do the street improvements, we don't have to come back. So they're separate infrastructure pots of money that have become available. Again, we're not expanding the the underground water and sewer system. We're rehabbing it so that it lasts another 50 to 80 years. And I don't know if anyone else has,
Yeah,
Sean.
just to add to that, William, that there's, this project, its overall project is a combination of 5 or 6 separate projects, the South Main Corridor original project, and there's, several different rehab projects that we combined in, and as well as, like you mentioned, separate water and sewer projects. So those are sorry, the lights just went out in the building that I'm in. But so it's not like it's all being combined into the South Main project. Water needed to do a replacement, so we said, hey, might as well do it at the same time. Sewer needs to do a replacement. Okay, we might as well do it at the same time. So everything has discrete funding, and we're just kind of doing it all at the same time to avoid disrupting the community at several different times, and just getting it all done at once.
Thank you, Sean. Margarita, do we have a question for Sean?
We do, and I just wanted to respond because we're talking, I'm incorporating the feedback to share with our planning team. So I did want to comment on Erika Gonzalez's observation and even what others have shared at earlier meetings regarding, what kind of policies can be incorporated into an agreement that will protect the business tenants, that will protect the immediate residents that live behind whatever gets developed. Other conversations about, how can the housing be retained for residents in the immediate area. And so, Erika, that feedback will also be shared along with the other design recommendations that the team has brought up at today's Zoom call. So, and now let me go into the questions. So we have Lisandro, this is a question for Sean. Do you know the trees that you will be planting? I forgot to send you an email after the last meeting. Hopefully they are not palm trees. So Sean, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah. I did look that up. I remembered your question, and we're putting, I believe it's Canary Island pine trees in the center median and crepe myrtle trees in the sidewalk. So that's the plan.
Thank you, Sean.
Any other questions, Margarita?
That was it.
Alyssa, I think we have a few more chats.
Yes, there's a couple more. Ben Mendoza asks, would it be possible to have another meeting with just business owners and not so much a presentation, but more of a discussion, questions and answers between city, construction company, and business owners along Main Street? We see this project will move forward, so we would like to have a better way to ask questions about the project. This meeting is great, but I think focusing on Q&A with business owners is better.
Absolutely. So
Yes,
that's
certainly.
yeah, we're definitely would love to do that. There's going to be, Omar and his team are going to make themselves very available, as well as myself, throughout this project. And, we welcome that type of collaboration. In the next slides, I'm going to kind of provide contact information and other information that's going to be available to you to coordinate any type of meeting you'd like with us.
Okay, and then we have Erica Gonzalez. She says the vision plan shows potential development sites. Barrio Logan has CBA that we can duplicate to protect existing residents. And then she commented Barrio Logan in San Diego.
Thank you, Erika.
And then we have Larry Gonzalez. Ben, you can ask your questions here. We local residents are most important. And then we have Janelle Hardy, also need an architectural survey of South Main Street to create an inventory of buildings. And then we have Sandra Pochapena commenting, having a business focused meeting would be great if it is truly inclusive. South Main Clinic operator and owner of Aloha Pharmacy owner, Dr. Bruno Bucci, has received 0 notifications of South Main construction and improvements. Please ensure he is included.
Absolutely.
And then we have Danny Lupita Ramirez saying, great, thank you. And then Irma Harugui saying, I agree, the businesses that are on South Main have more technical issues of operations of their businesses. And as a prior member of SSAMA, I agree with those observations. To have a meeting with them for those reasons, and the work will be efficient for all. And then we have Janelle Hardy commenting for historic South Main Street to be honest, ID, and education and preservationist. Then Irma Harugi saying great, very efficient. And then Erica Gonzalez commenting, can we have a meeting with all departments, commissions involved so we are all on the same page?
We're certainly open to that. Margarita?
Yeah, I just, Erika, for you, I just wanted some clarification, like the meeting, is it regarding this project or is it regarding just the issue of the CBAs, the design? I just wanted a little bit more clarity from Erika, and let's see if she can.
Can I go ahead and speak?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, just clarity to make sure we're all on the same page, because I know Public Works says, you know, this really isn't their area of expertise regarding the community benefits agreements or the fact that there's development sites, potential development sites on the vision plan. So I would just like to kind of get everybody on the same page, because the same thing with kind of like the Arts and Culture Commission, like those utility boxes, you know, we had no idea they were going out. So maybe streamlining so that there's more efficient communication between all parties involved. I don't know how we could, I think the best way to do that would just be to get everyone in the same room. You know, if that's possible, that way all the details can be ironed out, everyone's voices can be heard. And, you know, that way the left hand knows what the right hand is doing, and there's no more, you know, kind of conflict arising between all parties involved.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there are a couple of more comments. Janelle Hardy commented, and preservation avenues need included moving forward. Then Irma Harugi says beautiful. And Lissandro commented, thank you, Sean. Happy to hear about the crepe myrtles. And then Sandra Pocha Pena says, Janelle brings up an important point. We need a South Main architectural survey. This concentration of vintage buildings may need to be declared historic. Can we have a South Main meeting with planning? Historic Resources Commission should be involved, as well as preservation groups.
Can you comment on that, Margarita?
Yeah, yes. So definitely, you know, we have Pedro Gomez and we have Jill Arabe, who are more heavily involved in the historic preservation component. So yes, I will definitely bring this up and to see if perhaps a future meeting, you know, with the South Main corridor can involve the planning, because there are a lot of specific recommendations that have been made, not just at this meeting, but in previous meetings. And I know we're talking about this project, but some of it expands, you know, beyond the project. So definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Margarita. Alyssa, do we have any other comments in the chat?
No, that looks like that's the last one for now.
Omar, did you want to continue to the next slide then?
I think that's going to be
Oh, okay. Or that you, Sean. Okay.
Yeah, it's a transition to Sean at this point, so, but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Omar. And one thing I do want to just touch on one of the comments was about, I'm sorry that somebody didn't receive the notification. I do want to make it known that we did hand deliver flyers ahead of this meeting to every business throughout the corridor. So I'm sorry if it didn't end up getting to you. We'll try to continue to do that. We did that last time as well, and we're going to always do that. Go the extra mile to actually walk and hand deliver the messages. So the project contacts and information is listed on the screen. And with this project, we're going to have a dedicated South Main infrastructure website. This is not created yet. We're in the process of creating it, but I am happy to share that we are going to have a dedicated website for you to get updates on. There will be, you know, a news feed where we'll kind of put some updates as well as some FAQs, as well as contact information and ways to comment and reach out to us. That will be, I think, a great resource for the community to always have access to see what's going on with the project. In addition to that, we're going to create a project hotline. The phone number for the hotline is going to be 714-565-MAIN or 6264. Hopefully this will be easy to remember. And so anytime you guys want to reach out, leave a comment or get some information, you can simply just call this hotline and get that. In addition to that, we'll have a project email that's dedicated for this project. The email has already been set up. It's called southmainconstruction@santa-ana.org. So the email is set up, but the project hotline and the website is coming soon. So we'll make sure we get those two things online before the start of construction. In addition to that, we all know our project community liaison, Michelle McAuliffe. So she's always going to be available. A lot of you probably already have her on speed dial, but here's her phone number and email address, as well as my information, my phone number, my email address. You can always reach out to me. I have Omar's information on here. He's the construction manager again. His information is here as well. And last but not least, the arts and cultural specialist, Tram Lee, for any of the art related questions or suggestions, please feel free to email her and or call her, and she can, try to make it happen through the proper channels.
Sean, thank you. Alyssa, do we have a couple other comments in the chat?
Yes. So Janelle Hardy says, thank you. And then Ben Mendoza says, yes, you did. Great job. Someone walked into our business and gave us a meeting flyer. So thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
And then Richard Garcia, at a past meeting at Walker Elementary, the city stated there was a 500 unit low income housing at A1 Foam and Fabrics, 1812 South Main Street. Need clarification.
Margarita, do you have any insights on that?
We could probably check with our community development agency team just to
Okay.
see what's the latest. Thank you.
Okay, and then we have Carl Benninger, who says, good job, everyone. I learned a lot and is excited to see this project starting.
Thank you, Carl.
And then we have Larry Gonzalez. He says, thank you, William and Sean, for your responses. It sounded like the money is coming from several sources. Can any of the money be used to acquire, expand, or create green spaces? Maybe something that connects into the existing nearby bike trail a block away.
William, can you share some insights on that question?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. I think that we could work with and contact the Parks Department to see what kind of facilities they have upcoming for funding into the future years. And then the other avenue would be for us, if we've identified great resources for the Santa Ana community moving forward, we can certainly apply for grants or at least keep our eye out for grants that could cover the majority or some of the costs to these improvements. So we can certainly coordinate with Parks on that.
Thank you, William. Alyssa, do we
And
have
I
a
would
couple
like
more?
to add to that, Michelle, is the Parks Department is undertaking a master plan for parks, city parks. So you may want to let them know of your interest of expanding or continuing that bike trail, and so they will maybe add it to their master planning. So.
Thank you, Nabil. Alyssa, do we have a couple more comments in the chat?
Yes, so Janelle Hardy says, good idea, signage showway to bike trail from South Main Street. So referring back to that previous question. And then Irma Harugi says, thanks everyone, long time coming and very appreciated to see it start to come to fruition.
Thank you, Irma.
And then Janelle Hardy comments, bike trail and exercise equipment areas are related to South Main Street. And then Lissandro says, thank you to staff. I can't wait to see Main Street after these improvements. Rolling out the new streetlights throughout the corridor will add to a completely new look. And then we have Sandra Pochapina say, we residents asked for free Wi-Fi hubs at the 2 South Main focus areas and at the parking lot at Main and Pine. Is that going to happen?
William or Sean, can you address that?
Yeah, that's currently not in the plan. That's out to construction. However, that is something that, you know, we have heard from in the community recently, and we will, you know, look into that and see if that's, you know, a possibility in the future. Nothing that we're doing is going to prevent that. So, you know, we can look into that.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay.
Alyssa, do we have one more?
We have a couple more. So Richard Garcia says, thank you for the great presentation and addressing of questions and answering to all participants.
Thank you, Richard.
And then we have Janelle Hardy say neighborhoods and tourists, kind of adding back to the bike trail and exercise areas. And then Celica commented, perhaps Parks and Recs can provide some funding for the small area on McFadden and Orange. Thank you, everyone. And then we have Janelle Hardy say, and visitors will like to know location of bike trail. And then Erica Gonzalez asked, can we establish an oversight committee to ensure that residents' concerns are included?
William, do you know about the oversight committee?
Would that oversight committee be for resident concerns related to this South Main project? Because we're going to be having ongoing meetings for construction progress, and whenever there's any detailed impacts to certain locations, we will continue having meetings. So I don't know if I'm understanding the question correctly.
Alyssa,
Erica,
do we want to?
yeah. Erica, can you unmute yourself and clarify your question?
Yeah, sure, no problem. I just want to ensure, like, I mean, if we could create an oversight committee to ensure that all future projects, you know, in the city of Santa Ana are to make sure that residents and current residents and business owners' voices and concerns are included, but particularly for the South Main Street corridor, because I feel like this is a really unique opportunity for us to establish kind of a blueprint for the rest of the city. What my greatest fear, along with, you know, the fellow residents and fellow business owners, our greatest fear is that South Main Street corridor is going to turn into downtown Santa Ana. And I know that the city likes to, you know, talk about downtown Santa Ana as its pride and joy, but if you ask any resident, that's not the pride and joy of Santa Ana. That's a glimpse of the future if gentrification is allowed to permeate and to take over the city as it has been doing in the past. So like I said, my greatest concern is, I understand that Public Works, you know, when it comes to development, that's not your department. But what happens a lot of times is that we have these meetings and we express our concerns, but the concerns are just kind of, you know, they go over people's heads because that's not your department. And, you know, that's what we hear over and over again. So what I would like to do is create some sort of oversight committee of like residents, community organizations, because there's a ton of community organizations in Santa Ana. We are rich in activists. So if the city just did a little bit of research and reaching out, you guys would be able to get I mean, you've done a lot of work with Latino Health Access, Santa Ana, Building Healthy Communities, Environmental OC Justice Group. So, you know, it's just really creating that coalition to ensure that the Santa Ana residents are in fact, you know, being heard, and that we are also being protected against displacement, future displacement, because you know, like I said, we all know that there's development coming to South Main Street. And when the voices of the residents are not heard, we end up with, you know, things that happen in downtown Santa Ana, like for instance, the whole Patches and Pins Expo that happened a couple weeks ago that made it, you know, onto Gabriel San Roman's blog, because the city allowed for hundreds of people, outsiders who are not even Santa Ana residents, to come into the city and expose and further endanger our residents. So I want to ensure that my community is protected. And one of the ways that we can do that is by establishing an oversight committee to ensure, like I said, that residents, actual residents, current residents, and business owners, our concerns are heard and that they are actually, you know, taken into consideration.
you, Erica.
This is William. Erica, thank you very much for clarifying that. I understand where you're coming from now. I think that those are the types of issues that probably can be taken on with the advisement of our city manager. And we probably need input from our city council as to how we should proceed or approach large projects such as this one and other future projects. I don't know if Nabil, if you have a better
Sure.
better information, but I think that's probably my advice.
Sure. Thank you, William. An oversight committee typically is established by city council, and if we're directed to establish such a committee, we'll be more than happy to do so. But we need the direction from our electeds for that. Thank you.
Alyssa, do we have other comments?
Yes.
Another one.
Janelle Hardy commented, "Thank you, everyone." And then Sandra Pochapena stated, "Also, please consider installing bike racks, especially along connection corridors to Pacific Electric Bike Trail." And then we have Irma Harugi saying this might be part of this work, but there's still one small part of the old Pacific Electric Trail rail on Chestnut. Please preserve it, and maybe some kind of plaque would be great. And then we have Sandra Pochapena. "Thank you all for keeping us residents in the loop." And then Janelle Hardy stating, lots of good ideas from South Main Street residents." And then Sandra Pochapena, "A resident-led steering committee would be great. I support Erica's comments, touch on significant concerns. Barrio Logan in San Diego has a Chicano Park steering committee, working with the city for all development endeavors. It's been working great for over 40 years. Look up Barrio Logan MAD and Chicano Park Steering Committee." And then we have Larry Gonzalez say, "Thank you for the suggestion, Mr. Nabil Saba. This had a professional feel to it. P.S. She's right about downtown Santa Ana. Just wait till the 1,000+ apartment buildings go in and zero park space." And then Janelle Hardy says, "I too support Erica's comments." And then we have Erica Gonzalez commenting, "Can the mayor comment on oversight?"
Is our mayor pro tem still with us?
Council members?
I think our mayor pro tem's on the call, but not our mayor. I think he had mentioned he had to leave the call.
Mayor pro tem, would you like to make any comments on the oversight?
No, not at the moment. I'm currently just listening, but that is something that we could discuss with the full council.
Thank you. Alyssa?
And then one more comment from Media Arts Santa Ana. "There needs to be resident oversight over Downtown Inc., which promoted patches and pins and other events like it." And then that's it for now on the chat box.
Okay.
Okay. May I continue, Michelle?
Please, please.
All right, I'm going to hand it right back to you.
Okay. We just want to remind everyone to report public works issues, from potholes to illegal dumping, graffiti, tree trimming, maybe it's a water or sewer issue. And you can report it to our Public Works dispatch number at 714-647-3380, or you can send an email to our Public Works dispatch at pwadispatch@santa-ana.org. Or you can go online to the city's website, and on the homepage, there's a blue ribbon that says report an issue, and you just click on that and you can report your issue. And if you have an iPhone or Android, you can download our free My Santa Ana app. And once you have the app on your phone, it's easy. All you need to do is open it, take a picture of the issue and send it to us. And you can be anonymous. It's that easy. So thank you for reporting public works issues. Please continue to report the issues so we can keep Santa Ana just as beautiful as possible. And if you want to be in the know, please subscribe to our Santa Ana Nixle or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. It's a great way to be in the know. Marguerite, did you have any comments to add?
I just had a couple. I saw that Erika added on the chat. I guess she wants to know other council members' comments who are on this call regarding the oversight. And the only other council member that I see who's on this Zoom is Councilmember Becerra.
Margarita, really quick, and sorry to interrupt. This is Mayor Pro Tem Peñalosa. Can we
Yes.
double or triple check to make sure that there isn't a quorum? Not sure
Right.
who's on the other call or who's listening in.
It's
So-
only-
Mayor
it's
Pro Tem,
only-
I was just going to say that at this point, I don't think any council members will probably comment right now. And I think, as you mentioned, we'd probably discuss this more as a full council, not right here in this workshop.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that there are only 2 members of the council on this call right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm just, as part of the planning team, definitely some of these broader recommendations, like for oversight, I mean, that's something that I will be sharing with my director. So I'm sure he'll, bring that up with Nabil and our city manager very soon. So yeah, but we really appreciate a lot of the solid and concrete recommendations that everybody had, on this call as this project continues to move forward. I just wanted to ask Public Works, I guess now that you've heard some of the feedback, I mean, is there like a next step in terms of another larger South Main Corridor meeting? Or if it's something that's a little bit more like in segments with the business community and then some of the neighboring associations, depending on, where it begins as a next step.
I think now that we're gonna start construction, the communications is gonna be a lot more personal. We're gonna have staff boots on the ground that are gonna be reaching out and letting you guys know when construction is gonna take place in front of your property. Give you at least a couple weeks in advance notice, and then come back about 48 hours prior to the actual work happening. So I think from now on, there's going to be a lot more, personal communication. We're always here to available to be reached. And I think maybe a little bit down the line, when the project is underway, we can have another big community meeting to give everyone like a global update of what's going on. But I think in the immediate, the next steps is now, to get everything in line for the contractor to be ready to go. And to start doing those, notifications, before the project starts, there's going to be a general notification where we hand deliver flyers again throughout the entire corridor. And then there's going to be continuous notifications throughout the project as construction kind of moves in front of whatever business or property. So those kind of are the next steps as far as outreach, in addition to all the avenues that I just mentioned in the previous slide. To get further information.
And I would like to add about public arts, those that are interested in public arts in this project, please reach out to the Arts and Cultural Commission as soon as possible. This way they can vet the ideas and have enough time for us in Public Works to evaluate the cost and the feasibility of these ideas. So eventually we will have a deadline on when we can receive arts ideas and projects that we can study and evaluate and see if we have enough funding to make those projects happen in terms of public art. So I encourage each and every one of you to reach out to the Arts and Cultural Commission. This way we can get ahead and basically give you what you're looking for in terms of art. I know council members and the city council are interested in these art ideas, and so we are, and we would like to make a difference in this project and provide as much as public arts as possible in the areas of the public right-of-way and city-owned properties like we discussed earlier. So please get your ideas in. And thank you and have a great night.
Thank you, Nabil. Alyssa and Margarita, do we have any other comments or questions? before we conclude?
We do not.
Very- Oh, go ahead, Margarita.
We just have a hand raised by Mr.
Oh.
Ben Mendoza. Go ahead, Mr. Mendoza.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say thank you to everyone for having this meeting. As a business owner, being here since 1993, we've seen a lot of changes on South Main. My father, Benjamin Mendoza Sr., was one of the original founding members of the South Santa Ana Merchants Association, which they were the ones that actually helped get that monument sign over near Warner Avenue on the street. So that was a major victory for them to get that monument sign up. But the one thing I wanted to close out the meeting is I was reading today that Orange County is on the brink of getting back into the red tier based on the tier system that we have in the state. Our numbers are coming down. And it seems I see more people on the street, more people in businesses, more traffic on the street. So it seems that things are starting to turn around finally. And now we're going to start a project that, according to what I heard tonight, might take a year. And so my only concern as a business owner is right when we're about to maybe turn the corner and get back to having some normality in our businesses, we're going to have a project that's going to impact our parking, our customers, all kinds of impacts. And so I don't know how much that has been discussed among city and the construction company and everything, but as a business owner, I just, it's scary to me because I know we're going to do the best to try to keep down the amount of intrusiveness of this project. But the reality is we are going to have some setbacks, and it's understandable for the size of this project. But I was just wondering if anyone had discussed that internally at the city or anything regarding the possible impact now that if we start getting business back to normal, how this would impact businesses that have been struggling really for 2 years now. So.
Thank you, Ben. Sean, do you have some insights to share with Ben?
Yeah, Ben, I completely understand your concern. It's hard to, time the pandemic and, the typical stance during this time is to kind of get things done as soon as possible. And we tried and we pushed this project to get it in while things are slow. But what I can see if, everything opens up right when this starts, the timing is a little unfortunate, but I can assure you that this project is not like any other project that we've done before as far as the amount of personnel and the amount of resources that we're throwing at this project to ensure that this construction is as least painful as possible. We are going to do everything we can to make sure that businesses, that residents and visitors know that businesses are open during construction and that access is easily accessible. So that's something that we're going to strive to do. Our construction management team has received the message loud and clear that this needs to be the utmost priority during construction, is to kind of, work with the businesses and try and, as I said, ease their pain as much as possible, to kind of, and, also to finish this project as soon as possible, so we're kind of managing those things. We don't want to, take so long and just, with minimal disruptions, we want to kind of, do what makes sense to get the project finished, completed for all businesses and, visitors and everyone to enjoy. And during the process, we'll do our best to minimize impacts.
Okay, thank you for that.
Alyssa, do we have another comment?
Yeah, there's just people saying thank you. Haley Gilbert says thank you for a great presentation.
Oh, Haley.
Irma Harugi says thank you all and truly appreciate the council members listening to us.
We do too. Thank you.
And I think that's the last one.
Margarita, do we have any other questions?
We do not, Michelle.
Okay, then I think we'll conclude the meeting. We just want to say thank you to everyone for attending tonight and have a great evening and be safe.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Erica. Bye.
Thank you.